Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' With Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thank you so much for logging on, tuning in, clicking links. However you got here, we're glad you're here. We are at the Gallie Artworks Art Festival in Gallie's Art District in Melbourne, Florida. That's a lot of Gallies and arts, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. Basically, we are at a street fair for artists, and it is awesome. Amazing art. And right now, we get to hang out with art teacher, Lara Klopp. Lara, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You are the art teacher up at Merritt High School.
Yes, the 2D art teacher. So I do drawing and painting, not ceramics or sculpture.
Wow. So wait, you take teenagers and teach them art.
Yes. Yes, which anybody can learn. And that's the thing. You will get students who walk in and they're always like, I don't know how to draw. And you're like, you're in Art 1. Like, you never get anyone walking into Spanish 1 being like, well, I don't know how to speak Spanish.
It's valid.
You come into an art class, and you think that everyone expects you to already know how to be an artist.
Because technically, I think I could have started every conversation in every class through high school with, I don't have a clue what you're doing.
Exactly.
I don't know how to do algebra. I don't know.
Right, and that's why you're in the class.
History or Spanish or German or so. What is it about the creative arts that you think when these kids come into the class and they say, I don't know how to draw? Or they're thinking about signing up or registering for the class and they're like, yeah, but I don't know how to do that.
Right.
What do you think it is about the creative arts that has that mystique to students that they kind of like if you can't already do it, you shouldn't take a class? I mean, what is that? What really do you think is? I
think people grow up believing that art is just a skill you have or you don't have. Like, they think that it's one of those things that you are born with natural talent. And it is definitely true that some people have more natural talent to begin with, as with anything else. But it's also a learned skill. I mean, it's learning to look, to not just think you know what you're looking at, but to actually look at and see what you're seeing. It's learning to slow down and have patience and take your time, which a lot of school is about getting things done quickly, and it's kind of the opposite. It's like, no, this isn't a rush and it isn't a race, and you need to take time and you need to make mistakes. It's learning to make mistakes. Our education system does not encourage people to make mistakes.
Well, and in so many disciplines, if you're doing a math problem, there's a way to get the answer, and there's an answer. If you're writing an English paper, as opposed to a novel or a short story, there's a formula, there's a way, there's a proper way to do it. Now, once you step into that creative world, though, mistakes are the happiest things because sometimes they lead you to the next piece of your story idea, the next piece of your painting, the next.
Right.
It's a freer mentality. I think traditionally education has kind of looked at that and gone, "Oh, you guys are crazy." That's not.
Mistakes are good for another reason too. When you make a mistake, if nothing else, it teaches you what not to do.
Absolutely.
So, and I mean, who learns anything without trying it a whole bunch of times and not being great at it? Like, what you learn is by trying something and saying, I tried that and it didn't work. Let me correct it. Let me change it. Let me alter it. And it's that willingness to understand that you're not going to start something and be perfect, and you're going to start something. And what do we learn most from? We learn most from the things we do wrong, right?
Yeah, screwing it up. Screwing it up actually teaches us so much more.
Right.
Because in the end, if I always get my math questions right, if I always get my I know my nouns and my verbs and I know where to put them and I always get it right, then I become accustomed to always getting it right.
Oh, right. It's terrifying to be wrong.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
And I don't become accustomed to learning.
Right.
I just, hey, you said it, I absorbed it, that's it.
And the fear of being wrong and looking like you don't know what you're doing, by the time, elementary school kids, you give them art materials and they're like, woohoo, let's go!
Oh, yeah.
And they're drawing and they're painting and they're having the best time. By the time they get to high school, they're so afraid of looking dumb. They're so afraid of looking like they're making mistakes. So they'll come in. My biggest thing with a lot of my students is teaching them to let go of that fear and just try things. More than, like, I would have no problem teaching every one of my students to draw and paint beautifully if they came in without that fear of doing it badly first. And I have to convince them you're gonna do it badly before you do it well. It's like when you're in kindergarten and you're learning to write your letters, you know your first A's are very slow and tedious, and you're looking
And
at
not,
and you're trying.
we have an 8-year-old, not really an A.
Right, exactly.
It's sort of an A-like thing, but not an A. And then by the time you get to high school, you've gotten so used to the A being just right that I come into your class and you say, okay, here's a picture we're going to paint. And I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Right, well, I let them pick their own things to paint.
Good.
I never give them I give them general guidelines. Like, for instance, I hate silhouettes in front of sunsets. Silhouettes in front of sunsets are just, because they're not teaching you. They're so easy that you're not learning. They want to go for what's going to be beautiful. And I want them to say, do what's going to be beautiful in your own time. In my class, pick something that's going to challenge you, where you're going to make mistakes, where you're going to mess up. And maybe you'll make a lot of mistakes and you won't love this piece, but you'll be that much more equipped for your next piece or your next one.
What drew you to two-dimensional art?
Well, I was actually in college initially, studying. I was a government major. I was going to be a lawyer, and you had to take art classes.
That could be creative and
yeah, it's true.
And an art sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. I probably would not be as happy. And you had to take classes in art, so I took a class in drawing, and I loved it. And took a class in sculpture and liked it. It was fun. Liked drawing more. And then took painting classes, so I added an art major. And then eventually I went back to school and got my Master of Fine Arts. And I loved the teaching element of that as a graduate teaching assistant. And then later I became a single mom, as these things happen. And being a teacher was the best job that would let me be home with my kids the majority of the time, keep a schedule similar to theirs. And I ended up at a high school, and I'm so glad I did, because I love high school students so much. They are amazing. They are smart. They are funny.
It is a wonderful piece of human development. Those years are so formidable.
They're so open, and they're so willing to talk about what they think and what they feel, and they're so willing to listen, and they're so willing to... All they need is someone who respects them and treats them kindly and gives them time and attention, and then they just show you how amazing they are.
It is. Really, those high school years are so formidable as we develop. We develop what we're going to be passionate about. We develop and a lot of those things carry us through college or whatever, but so many people that you talk to, especially in this community, in the creative arts community, so many people that have gone on to law or medicine or business or whatever, you see them out here under the tents, and they'll say, well, I really loved, or I developed a love for art or painting or drawing or digital arts in high school. And then I went and was a business person and a lawyer and a doctor. And then one day I just thought, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And so much of that is formed by those relationships and those connections that they make in high school.
Definitely.
In those formative years. You guys are down here doing some you're doing some street painting, and you've organized a lot of stuff here for the Artworks Festival.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on out there.
Okay, well, I am in charge of the National Art Honor Society and the Art Club at Merritt High School.
Okay.
And so we were talking about projects that we wanted to do this year. And we realized that it would be great if we could do something that would bring art to the community. I used to take part in a street painting festival in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where I came from. And I just knew that this would be a great way to help my students connect to the art community overall, as opposed to the smaller art community in the school. So we reached out. It was amazing. First I reached out to Artworks and said, hey, can we join your festival and do street painting? And Artworks said, heck yeah. And then I reached out to Dick Blick Art Supplies, and they gave us $1,000 worth of art materials, chalk and tempera paint, and everything we needed to run the festival. Firehouse Graphics and Signs gave us a big banner. Home Depot and Target both donated water and snacks. So the entire thing was funded by our community and the arts community, like helping us come in. So my students and a bunch of professional artists are out there with students from other high schools in the area, and we're just making art right there on the street for everyone to see, and it's incredible.
That is what the creative arts community is all about, folks. It's about artists helping other artists, creating new artists, because when people walk by and they see what you're doing, and somebody's like, oh, you know what, maybe.
We're
it's really
letting people sign up today, and we have a section
fantastic.
for kids too. Any kids that want to take part, we have a whole area for them to be able to create their own art on the street.
Awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. So you reached out and you got a lot of people with donations for art supplies and the things you needed to get going. Your banner. This is the first time that you
First time.
come on down here. Wow. How they doing?
Amazing. I mean, if you have not walked down there to look at the art, it is incredible. There are beautiful pieces, colorful, intricate, fun, whimsical, everything you could look for, it's all there.
Now, we talked earlier about the fact that, when a student comes into one of your classes for the first time, sometimes there's a level of intimidation, that belief in I wasn't born with this talent or this gift. And so as opposed to learning the skill, that can be very intimidating. I love to ask this for artists in their own right. What was the moment? What was the best moment in your art career? As a teacher, though, I would like to ask you, what's the biggest surprise you've ever seen a student have when they come in and they're like, I just can't do this, and all of a sudden they can? Was there ever a moment when you were just like, see, that is why I do what I do?
Every student who comes in, sure they can't do it. Everyone who is willing to listen to me when I say you just need to try, every one of them gets to a point where they create something and they're like, I am so proud of this. I am so happy to take this home to my mom, or I'm going to give this to my grandma for her birthday. And you can just... One student told me last year, she came in very uncertain about ability. It was very hard to get her motivated initially, and that's what it looks like. It looks like they just don't care, they're not motivated, they don't want to be there. But what there really is fear. It's not that they're not motivated, it's that they're afraid to be motivated. So she started out that way, and I worked with her, and she told me later, she said, one day you said, you can sit here and not work, and you haven't created anything. Or you can sit and try, and regardless of what happens, you've made something that never existed in this world before and that nobody else could have made. And she said that stuck with her, and that was what made her come in always willing to try.
That's awesome. That is, it is one of the, I don't have time is a common mantra.
Yeah.
In people who, when I wrote my first book, I was all of a sudden surrounded by people who were going to write a book. And when you do your first painting and when you're at your first art show, you're all of a sudden you're surrounded by people who were going to do that.
Right.
But I didn't have time, and I couldn't do this, and I didn't have that raw talent.
Right.
And it really comes down to that intimidation factor. They never took the time to think, you know what, in a year from now, if I don't take painting, how old will I be?
Right.
I'll be exactly a year older without
Right.
having taken painting.
Yeah.
If I don't do my book, if I don't do my show, if I don't do my thing, how old will I be?
Exactly. We have to
Same exact age.
We have to take advantage. We have to take what we want to do, and we have to just do it. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be necessarily everything we want it to be every time, but we will have done it, and we can always do it again. We can always make it better, but if we don't do it, we haven't done it.
I like to remind people all the time, and in the arts especially, entire art genres have been created from those happy accidents, those mistakes, those people
Absolutely.
who lacked this talent but somehow managed to find something else.
Oh yeah,
in the process.
Every student has a different talent. One student, very shaky hand, most creative, sketchy, amazing work. Like, you work with who you are and what you are. You never try and you wouldn't want to put Leonardo into Warhol's box. You wouldn't want to put Warhol into Botticelli's box. We all have our own skills and our own talents.
Really fun exercise to try. Wouldn't work out, but really fun exercise to try. I love that. Guys, that's our shut up card. That means we have been hanging out for a little while. I want to thank our friends and our partners over at Famous Faces and Funnies, Indie Originals, Space Coast Comics, our great friend Josh Bauer at J. Bauer Art for all of the paintings that are on our set this weekend. Thank you so much, Josh, for all that you do for us. Our great friends at Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida and Krypton Radio. Thank you for watching, for logging on, for tuning in, for always coming back to see who we're hanging with next. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
That was
you,
great.
Lara.